Alright, in October 2009, an internet exchange sold 5,000 bitcoins for $5 to register the first purchase of a bitcoin with money. In May 2010, someone else paid 10,000 bitcoins to buy 2 pizza pies worth $25, representing the first time that Bitcoin was used as a medium of exchange. And 2 events that seem small, right, but which mark the beginning of Bitcoin. Hi, Jared here, and today let's talk about Bitcoin. And first, I will talk about the brief history of money, then why Bitcoin would be the one to pick, and finally, how it really works. So, throughout history, there were many forms of money. To start with, on small islands, people were using stones called raised stones as a payment method. And everyone knew who owned the stones because someone announced that the stone ownership had moved to another person. So there was no way of stealing the stones because first everyone was aware of who owned the stones, and also because the stones were too big and too heavy to move. And moreover, the stones were extremely hard to produce. People had to go to another small island next to their island to carve the raised stones by hand, which made the stones highly valuable simply because it's hard to produce. But one day, people from other countries came with better tools to mine those raised stones more efficiently, while making the process way easier. Looks good, right? But in fact, this tolls the value of the raised stones. They simply were no longer valuable since we could easily inflate its supply, thus decreasing its value. We then got seashells, wonderful medium of payment, because it's smaller, so easier to carry it every day, and it was pretty much non-existent back then, since no one got the advanced tools and technology to reach them. But one day, people developed better ships to increase their wealth, and thus the supply, and from one thing leading to another, seashells were no longer valuable. People then discovered gold. At first it was just a yellow nugget, but then it became money. It is scarce, hard to produce, and virtually impossible to destroy, which made the gold extremely valuable, while increasing the wealth of people who own gold. And finally, fiat money. Fiat money is simply the money created by the government, like the dollar or the euro. In fact, a bill, whether it is a $100 bill or $1 bill, has no intrinsic value. So this is just a piece of paper, most of the time made out of cotton. And it has a value because everyone says so, but in reality, all of these payment methods have real drawbacks, which brings us to why Bitcoin would be the only one to pick. And in fact, in the early days of our world, people were simply trading things, like a cat for a horse, for instance. But what if no one wanted to exchange the horse for a cat? Which brings us to the 3 functions of money that are made to solve the problem of trade. In order to be used, Bitcoin has to be sellable, so able to be sold easily, and it must be sellable across scale, across time, and across space. So first, across scale. Well, it means that it is easily divisible, like the dollar, which can go as low as 1 cent. Bitcoin can go as low as 1 satoshi, the smallest unit of Bitcoin, which is the equivalent to 100 millionth of a Bitcoin. And the satoshi was named after the founder, or founders, of Bitcoin, known as Satoshi Nakamoto. And on the other hand, gold is hardly divisible, which still remains a good store of value. Okay then, it has to be sellable across space. Well, gold cannot be easily transported, right? Except if you have a truck or 2. You would rather use dollars to buy a new phone, for instance. And today you can use Bitcoin, because you just need your phone to make a payment with Bitcoin, like a normal payment using Binance, for instance. And finally, it has to be sellable across time. In order to hold a currency, gold or Bitcoin, we have to make sure first that it does not lose value over time. Thanks to inflation, when we inflate, so increase the supply in dollars in circulation, and the more we have, the less value it has. And on the other hand, gold and Bitcoin are pretty good at keeping their value over a long period of time. Gold does not deteriorate at all, so you could keep it anywhere you want and come back 100 years later, it will still be the same, which makes it extremely valuable. Bitcoin is digital money, so by definition, it does not deteriorate at all again. It will keep its functions forever, or as long as we have the internet. Alright, so the difficulty of producing new monetary units determines the hardness of money. Money whose supply is hard to increase is known as hard money, while easy money is money whose supply is easy to increase. So, in order to maintain value, we have to limit production. The problem with fiat money is that its supply can increase in a blink of an eye, literally by clicking a button, while cattle, Bitcoin, gold, and seashells all require serious effort to produce them and can never be generated in large quantities easily. And we can understand money's hardness through understanding the stock to flow. And first, the stock. which is its existing supply, consisting of everything that has been produced in the past. And 2. The flow, which is the extra production that will be made next. And let's take gold as an example. Approximately 187,000 metric tons of gold have been mined in history. This is the stock of gold. It's virtually impossible to destroy gold, so most of the stock is still around. Right, now let's take a look at how much gold is mined annually. Around 3,000 tons of gold is mined each year, according to the World Gold Council. Divide the stock by the flow to get the stock to flow ratio. So the equation looks like a little something like this. 187,000 divided by 3,000. Which gives us 62.3. And that ratio means it takes approximately 62 years to acquire the total amount of gold currently in existence. The higher the stock-to-flow ratio, the more scarce the commodity. So, the total supply of Bitcoin will be 21 million coins, of which nearly 19.2 million have already been mined. The final Bitcoin should be put into circulation sometime in 2140. Miners are currently rewarded with 6.21 Bitcoin per block, with a block mined every 10 minutes. That translates to an annual flow of 328,000 Bitcoin, roughly. This means the current Bitcoin stock-to-flow ratio looks like this: 19 million divided by 328,000, which gives us 58.35. Okay then, medium of exchange in economics refers to a reliable, widely and legally accepted financial instrument having worth something, and this worth is utilized to assign value to commodities and services for trade between people. It aims to promote the sale and purchase of goods and services. And currently, the most powerful circulating medium is the currency of the US, so the dollar. The dollar is a standard of valuation of all other currencies of the world. In fact, Bitcoin might be a good alternative to the fiat money and gold we know today. It is as scarce as gold and way easier to transport than gold because we just need our phones, right? It is also hard to produce, which emphasizes its scarcity in the long term and virtually impossible to destroy, like again, gold. For now, Bitcoin is not a widely accepted medium of payment, right? But companies and countries are slowly embracing its technology, which is probably a green light, I think. And finally, a unit of account is something that can be used to value goods and services, record debts, and make calculations. In other words, it's a measurement of value. When something is used as a unit of account, it needs to have several properties. The first is the ability to standardize and easily understand it. With currencies, for example, standard amounts can be given and widely understood, right? 10 United States dollars, for example, is a standard amount that leaves no room for confusion, unlike a number like 10 cows, which could mean 10 large cows, 10 dairy cows, and so forth. But hold on, how does Bitcoin really work? So, in his popular book, From Zero to One, Peter Thiel discusses the impact of the visionaries who created a new world by producing the first successful example of a new technology. So the move from having zero to one successful example of a technology, as he terms it, is the hardest and most significant step in an invention. Whereas the move from one to many is a matter of scaling, marketing, and optimization. And the majority of the technology we use in our modern life was invented in the 19th century. For instance, we had hot and cold water, indoor toilets, plumbing, and central heating. These inventions are the difference between life and death for most of us. We also have electricity, internal combustion engines, and mass production, which are the foundation of society as we know it today. And Bitcoin is the first example of digital money cash. It went from zero to one. Bitcoin is a decentralized digital currency that you can buy, sell, and also exchange directly without an intermediary like a bank. It is decentralized because no one in any country owns Bitcoin. It is available worldwide and each of us can be part of the network and verify transactions if we want to. Bitcoin also allows its users to stay anonymous for each of the transactions they do on the network. And finally, no bank or third parties are needed. Transactions are automatically checked by the blockchain, which brings us to the blockchain. So, Bitcoin is powered by a technology called the blockchain. Basically, a blockchain is a list of transactions that anyone can view and verify. It contains a record of every time someone sent or received Bitcoin. In fact, like the name, it is a chain of blocks. Each block takes 10 minutes to mine, and the reward set for one block is 6.25 Bitcoin. So, the quantity of Bitcoins created is pre-programmed and cannot be altered no matter how much effort and energy is expended on proof of work. And this is achieved with a process called difficulty adjustments, which is perhaps the most ingenious aspect of Bitcoin design. It's important to note that for every block, there are thousands of Bitcoin miners, each competing for the reward. When there are more miners in the network, the difficulty of mining increases. As a result, each block requires more computational power to solve, and due to the unlikelihood of mining a single block on one rig, many Bitcoin miners join a mining pool. It means that if you are part of a mining pool and find a block, so 6.25 Bitcoin, you would automatically have to share a portion of your reward to everyone, and that's how you have more. I also have to talk about halving, which is the moment when Bitcoin rewards are divided into two. In 2009, the reward for each block in the chain was 50 Bitcoin. Nakamoto programmed Bitcoin to produce a new block roughly every 10 minutes, again, and for each block to contain a reward of 50 coins in the first 4 years of Bitcoin's operation, to be halved afterwards to 25 coins and further halved every 4 years. So after the first halving it was 25 and then 12.5 and then it became 6.25 Bitcoins per block as of 2022. And to put this into perspective, imagine if the amount of gold mined out of Earth was cut in half every 4 years. If gold's value is based on its scarcity, then halving of gold output every 4 years would theoretically drive its price higher. And here's the best way to describe Bitcoin. According to the book The Bitcoin Standard, Bitcoin is the first example of a new form of life. It lives and breathes on the internet. It lives because it can pay people to keep it alive. It lives because it performs a useful service that people will pay it to perform. It lives because it is radically transparent. Anyone can see its code and see exactly what it does. It cannot be changed, it cannot be corrected, it cannot be stopped. Bitcoin is a technology that survives for the very same reason the wheel, knife, phone, or any technology survives. It offers its users benefits from using it. Finally, Bitcoin will go through hiccups. It may fail, but then it will be easily reinvented, as we now know how it works. But its mere existence is a reminder for the banks that they no longer control money. This gives us, the crowds, a positive taste of our future, right? And if you enjoyed this video, you will probably like this one here, where I talk about what is happening to crypto mining, or this one, when I talk about how I invest in the stock market. Thanks so much for watching. As always, feel free to leave a comment down below, subscribe if you want to see more, and I will see you in the next one.